How's it going, guys? We are back again with some more Civ 5. It is the weekend after all. We are looking here at our glorious little empire. Looking at our new possessions in particularly London, which will be a great addition to our empire. It is not quite certain that it's going to stay in our empire, because we've only just taken it. So they might take it back. You never know. It could happen. But I doubt they're going to take it back. Because we have a pretty decent military and they don't look like they have any melee units. Which is a prerequisite for taking back the city. I guess we shouldn't worry too much. At this point in the game, we have pretty much everything we need to cruise our way towards the end. Arabia's still out there. We could go try to kill them. They might come try to kill us. You never know. These things happen. And we don't really know where it's going to go. But we do know one thing. That we are going to win this game. How we're going to win that game? Bit of a toss-up at the moment. But we're going to work our way there. We're going to figure it out. Got decent science. We're a little unhappy. Our culture's weak as always. So is our faith. That's pretty weak too. We'd like to get, we'd like to spread Eastern Orthodoxy, our state religion, a little bit further. But for the moment, we do what we can with what we have, and that's mainly just fighting English ships, because that's all we really have time for. Got a little bit of tourism. Tourism's always good. It means that our nation will not fall by the wayside. We will forever be known as a great power. Maybe not. The Soviets probably had some tourism and they fell by the wayside. We did not do anything for the World's Fair. That's to be expected. I didn't even know there was a World Fair happening, to be honest. Couldn't tell you heads or hide or tails about that. Heads, hides, or tails. Don't know where that phrase came from, but I'm sure it has some literary background to it, or some words are escaping me, but there's a word for that. The background of a certain phrase. Etymology? No. There's an ology about it. I know that much. We just have our artillery back far enough away from the ships that they can't hit them, and we're just going to bombard the ships as they enter the harbor. That's good enough. It'll get the job done. May not be the cleanest way to fight a war, but we don't really want to lose anything. Especially not at this point where we've secured our objective for the war. Building more units, because you can never have too many units. You can have too many units. If you're hemorrhaging gold, you have too many units, but when we're at war with a power that's not going to give up until they have a military score that's lower than our military score, it helps to have a few extra units lying around, even if they're not being useful. That being said, our cities are a little weak, to be honest. We need to start ramping them up a bit. But that is just how the cookie crumbles. We can't do anything about that right now. Well, we are doing something about it. We're building up a few of our cities. Well, actually, I think we've switched over to complete build-up at this point. We're building factories in our major cities. We're not building as many military units, so we're just in a defensive part of the war now. We can get through this. We will have peace on our continent for the first time in 1,800 years. I think we went to war starting around 0 AD. I don't remember when our war with Japan was. It was a long time ago, to be fair. But even if it was a long time ago, we'll figure something out. We will get peace to this continent. The people will be happy once more. And then we'll go invade somebody else's continent, because we are warmongers. To be fair, Inca isn't, their default playstyle isn't warmonger. We just decided that would be the best use of our time. And to be fair, we haven't gone wrong with it yet. We've been in a couple of deficits of happiness, but we've never hit -10, so Well, we hit -10 once, but we fixed it immediately the turn that we hit it, so it actually wasn't bad. We're saving up our faith. Got some plans for that, I assume. Probably buying Great People. Great People tend to be the best thing you can buy with faith in Civ 5. I'm recording the commentary here, and I'm thinking, this game has been going on for a long time, so it's about time to wrap it up. But I have 3 episodes ready to be rolled out, or to be edited and processed, so we are quickly approaching the end. I expect if it doesn't end next weekend, it'll end the weekend after next weekend, so we'll be moving on to a different weekend project in a couple of weeks. That's going to be very exciting. Haven't decided what that is yet, but by that point I might have a better PC, so we might end up playing something a little more complicated. Don't know what that would be yet, though. My Steam library is a little bit lax these days. I don't think I downloaded many of the games in it on this particular PC. So, might not end up playing a Steam game. Might just play an old out-of-the-box game like Morrowind or another one I have to buy. I think I have Crusade or Stronghold around here somewhere. Both would be pretty good choices. Morrowind would be a really long project for the weekends, though. We'd either have to do it as like a speed run or increase the length of episodes. I'd be open to do either, honestly, because I love Morrowind, and as my favorite game, I think I have enough knowledge about how the game operates and what systems work that if I really wanted to, I could probably finish a game of Morrowind in under an hour. Because in Morrowind, unlike later entries in the Elder Scrolls series, it's really all about having the right pieces at the right time in order to pull off the end of the game. For those of you who haven't seen the game, you might want to tune out for a second, because I just want to talk about why that is so that it isn't as confusing as it sounds. So basically in Morrowind, all you really need to do to win the game is to hit the Heart of Lorkhan with Kinning and Sunder, 2 weapons that you can pick up in the game from killable enemies. So as long as you can do that, you will win the game, regardless of what stage in the quest you are. So conceivably, you could just get a bunch of skooma, go one-shot the bosses carrying Sunder, take Sunder from him, grab Kinning, and it depends on what patch version you're playing on. If you're playing on Morrowind Code Patch Project, which is the default for most PC variants of the game, I think they might have patched out the glitch where you don't need Race Guard. Because in the original Xbox and PC launch of the game, you could switch weapons quick enough to where Kinning and Thunder wouldn't kill you without Race Guard. So you could basically go there, switch your weapons a bunch, spam the attack key, and the heart would detach itself from Dagoth, he would die, and you'd win the game. That's entirely possible. But I think I've seen a speedrun, like an unofficial speedrun of it on Morrowind that basically took like 10 minutes. Not that fast, because the way they did it was using Scrolls of Icarian Flight to basically jump all the way to Dagoth, which takes some pretty precise placement and angle to actually make sure that your jump ends there and that you're able to cast as a second Scroll of Icarian Flight before you land. But all of this tangent is just a way to fill up a little bit of time, because I'm thinking here that these few turns where we're just defending ourselves from England are a little bit boring. And to be fair, it's not going to get much more exciting than this until the end of the game, because we don't really have a lot of fighting left. Conceivably, there's only one opponent left who could pose a significant threat to us in a fight, which is Al-Harun Rashid of Arabia, and he is way behind on tech because he's on his own little island and he can't trade with people as easily. So we should be able to keep up outpacing him in tech, and as long as he doesn't win a culture victory, we should be fine. Although that being said, it's not necessarily a guaranteed thing. We could run into more troubles than I'm imagining, but you never know. England and Japan hate us. If I was England and Japan, I would hate me too, because I kind of took their cities and warred them. To be fair, it was Japan's fault for attacking us that they got warred, but we did attack England. We are the aggressor in that case. We're going to get a great scientist next turn, thanks to the science tower. I don't remember what it's called. It's the tower that provides the great scientist. That's what it does. It's not the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It's the one near the Leaning Tower of Pisa that are always... Pisa. It's always together in the kind of queue when you're looking to build something neat. Both are good, but one of them is trapped behind a policy tree, and I think it's the science one here that's trapped behind rationalism. So it's easier to obtain on... it's easier to obtain when the AI is ahead of you, because they don't necessarily always open rationalism like a human player might. It's just been a really odd few days, you know? I have to say, waiting on emails and just generally making sure that everything I've got recorded for the next couple of days comes out okay, and that I'm making more progress with my Japanese studies than I have been recently, so I think everything's going pretty well. Fairly happy with our results so far, but goodness, this has been a pretty depressing year. About to say, my college graduation last year this time was, last year a few months from now. January, February, March, April, May. So 2 months from now. Back in May, that was canceled, but it's actually this May now, so I technically will have an official graduation from college, which will be nice. Don't know if I'll be able to attend it or how they're going to actually pull out the features, because still a little bit of concern about COVID going on, and we don't know where that's going to be in the next few months, whether or not it's actually going to continue to go down like it has, or if something... it's going to be weird and we're going to end up in another bad situation. But I live in one of the more populous states in the United States, so we're not like awful, but we didn't handle the pandemic the best we could. We were pretty on top of it, to be fair, but it's not as though we emerged in any type of good situation. But what can you do? These kind of things happen. Trade ships running around, musketmen moving to their position, got artillery stationed. Things are looking real nice in the Empire. Actually, I have not looked at the list of Fire Nation cities that I'm basing my naming scheme on yet, to give Kyoto, Tokyo, and London new names. I might not give them new names, to be honest, because they aren't really my cities, so I don't know why I would start naming them after places that I'm considering part of my culture base. But I might rename them, but it'll be really towards the end, because as I mentioned, I already have an hour of this pre-recorded, so I do know what's going to happen. My clairvoyance will kick in at some points, and I'll give you slight hints as to the future. You'll have to figure out whether or not I'm just trolling you, or whether or not I actually know what I'm talking about, because half the time I'm trolling myself and I don't know what I'm talking about, so it's a give and take, you know. It's fair enough, but also not very fair because I don't know. This has been some good incoherent rambling this session. I was saying, I'm trying out a different setup because when you're syncing the audio in the in editing software with the clip, it doesn't always keep on track very well because the editing software ends up moving a little bit slower pace than the actual play of the video does. So that means that there's a lot more editing involved. But if you can get the editing synced for the times really well correct, it actually will be a little bit easier to process and edit these out, which I'm hoping will be the case, but you never know. I'm also hoping that because Arabia wasn't talking to us at the beginning of this episode, that he won't end up being the thumbnail for like the third time in a row. I originally messed around with thumbnail creation for the series, but it ended up being ended up just not looking too right. So I switched over to learning GIMP software, and with that, there's a little bit steeper of a learning curve. So I decided to put off most thumbnails until I get that down a little bit better. Like the first GIMP thumbnail I made was the MTG Misplays 9 or 10. It was blue-white Vigna Control, I think. Yeah, I think that was it. I think it was a Foretell adventure deck. And I honestly liked the thumbnail. It was a little bland, to be honest. Not the eye-catching thing that you'd expect, but we built the Eiffel Tower. That's fun. We're going to use our great engineer to also build a Broadway. Because who doesn't want a Broadway in addition to their Eiffel Tower? I'll just say, you can build some really lit cities in Civ 5. Like, just imagine a city containing every world wonder. And that's basically how you play Civ 5. You just deck your cities out with the most bling, and then you win. That's how it works. Sadly, I hear that's not the case for later entries into the series, but we can't all enjoy pretty buildings as much as, the rest of us do that still play Civ 5, so. Some people out there, they want to play with Hercules and vampires, but no thank you. I'll take a Leaning Tower and Eiffel Tower, thank you. Yeah. Those are good buildings. Good, happy buildings that make the world better. To be true, though, there are also some buildings that we can build that will make the world worse. Like, we could build, like, the Red Fort and the Brandenburg Gate and a few others. Actually, the Alhambra, which is the best, I think, military wonder that you can get in the game, that was already taken by the time I got to it. So I did not get to take the Alhambra. You can do some really insane things if you can stack that in a city with a barracks and there's a couple of other military buildings. You can get up to, you can basically get up to the point where they come in with 2 promotions to their base promotions and enough XP to get a 3rd promotion. And with that 3rd promotion, you can get things like Blitz on paratroopers and XCOM units. And XCOM with Blitz are really good at taking cities. Like, they just pop down 6 at a time, attack the city, and then some of them get wiped out, and then you add more to it. So it's a really good, really powerful late game strategy, but we did not get the wonder stack necessary to actually put it into play. At least I'm pretty sure I didn't. I think Alhambra was built by Arabia, not Japan or England. Although, to be fair, I never checked, so it might as well be because we don't know. We could have the Alhambra right now and we wouldn't know. But it's like Schrodinger's cat, is an Alhambra in this city or isn't it? We won't know until we open up the city and look, and that costs happiness, which we don't have. Well, we do at the moment, but we won't later. You know? Happiness is one of those things that's like... It's like the Greek myth about the guy who, No, it's not like that myth. I was thinking of something else, but it's like, It's like a line that you constantly want to be above, but if you get too far below, you start dying, you know? Like, if you get to negative 10 happiness, you start dying, and that's really bad. Which, we might get to negative 10 happiness. One of the ways to get to negative 10 happiness really easy, if you're interested in dying as, like a military dictator or something, is to choose an ideology that the rest of the world doesn't like. Because when you do that, they just start stacking up modifiers against you, and you get like negative 30 happiness just from being in the wrong ideology. And at that point, your people just show up outside of your house with tanks and whatever the highest grade military unit you have is. And why those kind of things were just sitting around and that they could take them, I don't know. I think we should probably not have that happen, but it happens that way. And, we may have to see that at some point. That could be very sad for us. Could you just imagine seeing like 2 mobile SAMs appear outside of a city? That's crazy. Although not particularly dangerous, really, because mobile SAMs are for shooting down planes, which I never build because I don't need them. Which I might need them, actually, but I don't really need them because I like the kind of early game combat that you get in the game where you're attacking with siege units and a couple of military units. But when you add things like aircraft carriers and planes and paratroopers and XCOMs, it gets a little more complicated. Paratroopers and XCOMs are really fun, to be fair, but they're not like they're not quite as satisfying as having like a couple of catapults to raid and like a swordsman entering a city, Because generally, if you're the player in the game with XCOMs, you're the one killing everybody, there's not really any real resistance to that. You can resist it if you're playing, if you're attacking like a equally technological civ that also has kind of XCOMs and a decent defense to them. Then they can defend against it. But the AI, when the AI comes up against XCOMs, it's generally not because everybody reached XCOM, then it's going to be a fair fight. It's more generally, I'm 10 techs ahead of everybody else, and I would like to win the game now instead of waiting another 20 turns to get a science ship part. We are quickly approaching the end of our session. We got 7 minutes left, so we're not too close to the end, but we will be there soon. That was our good buddy Alran Al-Rashid. He was just talking to us about something I assume is vaguely important, but I don't remember because I wasn't paying attention, and to be fair, the AI are kind of annoying. They're like little relatives that you end up having to babysit or watch over, You end up being like their little guardian for the AI because they're always like, can we trade? Can I have a trade route? I'm not happy with you anymore, that kind of thing. And it's just, I don't want to deal with that, guys. The AI can, if they could play quietly by themselves for a few moments, that would be really nice. But, our only friend declared war on us. I guess we took our jokes too far. Well, That'll keep him quiet for a bit, to be fair. I don't exactly know what he's thinking. I've honestly never seen an AI perform a successful naval invasion. And I've played probably 600 hours of Civ 5 and watched a great deal of Civ 5, so I do know a great deal about how the AI works. I've never seen them actually perform a naval invasion successfully. So, I don't have high hopes for our friend, but I do wish him the best. You know, he's been cool to us for most of the game, but I get the feeling he's going to try to be a thorn in our side as we sail our way towards victory, and I can't really be that happy about that. But we're just going to build science buildings. There's nothing left to do, really. We build science buildings, we amass great scientists, we bomb our way to the top. Which is science bomb. We're not going to bomb anyone. We're not going to build any planes. Unless we have to. We might build some if we need to. Glad to see that our relations with our neighbors have chilled down a bit. They're still a little too militaristic for my liking, but they're not really that dangerous, to be fair. I mean, Japan is still marching around with, like, what? Pikemen? Musketmen? They're not going to stop us. England's getting a little bit better. I thought I saw a Great War Infantry there a while ago, which means they're probably still semi-close to where we are as far as tech goes, but that's not going to help them anymore. They didn't defend their capital, and they paid the price for it. To be fair, our capital was not defended either, but our capital is surrounded by jungle. The only way to attack it really is from sea, and the AI is incompetent at sea-based invasion, so we really have nothing to worry about. Nothing at all. I hope I've earned your trust as a reliable narrator, by the way. Because when I say things like, we have nothing to worry about, I'm sure you're thinking that that's true. But there's a little aspect of my psyche that says, maybe they realize that I don't know what I'm doing half the time, and that maybe there is something to worry about. But I trust that you guys know that I know what I'm doing, and that there isn't really anything to worry about. The ship we are flying is at least halfway there, so don't worry about it. And we will, in the ever-wise words of General Kenobi, reach a happy landing. Building a hydro plant. It's a good thing. It's a really good thing. I look forward to it. Because our hydro plant will be the greatest hydro plant there is. I'm sure of that. Might be the only hydro plant in the world when it finishes. We are a good ways ahead on tech. Though culture is going to screw us here in a little bit, but it's not as though we can actually deal with that. There probably is a way to deal with it. I'm just not competent enough at the game to figure that out. The only way I can think of dealing with it is to get more culture and more tourism. So that way we aren't pressured as badly, and we can pressure other people more. I don't know if that actually works, to be honest. We got cucked on Big Ben. That's pretty bad. At least we'll get some gold out of it. Never going to scoff at an influx of currency. Every little bit helps, right? 466. Not the coolest number, but it's close. About 200 off, but that's neither here nor there. Looking to buy some buildings. We got gold, we might as well spend it. It's not as though we'll need it anywhere else. Our happiness is slowly draining, so we do need to start building. Gonna need to find another source of happiness here shortly. Our old buddy, he used to be our happiness bank, but sadly you can't trade with somebody that you're at war with. And I doubt he'd want to, but I'm just saying the option's on the table, you know. The option is on the table if he wants it. But we are at the end of the video, so I'll wish you guys goodbye for now. And thank you guys so much for watching. See you in the next one.